Okay, this video is on clouds. And when you see a cloud, one thing that you have to understand that cloud, what you see, is either in liquid form or solid form. And in order for it to turn into a liquid, it has to condense. And actually, if it turns into a solid, it goes through deposition. It skips the liquid phase unless you have hail or frozen rain. But for the most part, the clouds that you see that are way up there that are solid form is due to deposition. But in order to condense, they have to have condensation nuclei. That's going to be the dust, the ash, the dander, the clouds, any solid particulate that the water can condense on. And sometimes we put this into the air with the hopes we put more in or larger condensation nuclei in order for the hopes that rain will occur, and we'll talk about it at the end of the video. So what do clouds tell us? When we take a look at certain clouds, they are going to tell us what type of weather is going to come in the future. And as we go, we talk about fronts, we'll talk about a progression of clouds, not necessarily today, but when we talk about fronts, a progression of clouds that will tell us or lead us to what is going to happen in the future. So being able to identify clouds will be able to help us identify what type of weather is going to happen in the future. So when we identify clouds, a lot of times the things that we're going to take a look at is the altitude. Are they high, medium, or low clouds? Their color, their density, their shape, and how much covers. But when we take a look at them, some of these things are up for debate. And when I quiz you or test you on them, I will say, or you will know, this is a low cloud, this is a high cloud, this is a medium cloud. So when we take a look at them by their form or what they look like, we have stratus, we have cirrus, and we have cumulus clouds. And this is by looks. And when we take a look at some clouds, or actually all clouds, they are going to form by adiabatic cooling. And adiabatic cooling is what we talked about when we talked about the layers of the earth, layers of the atmosphere, that when that air goes up, it takes up a larger area, and as it expands, it's going to cool down. So as that air expands, it goes down, the temperature goes down, and then the relative humidity goes up. So the temperature goes down, relative humidity goes up, we get ourselves a cloud. So stratus clouds are going to be flat. They can happen at all layers of the atmosphere. They cover a large area. This particular picture kind of will lead you to believe that it only happens when it's dark out, but that's not true. Stratus is a word that we're going to use to mean cover a large area. Cirrus clouds are going to be those clouds that are wispy, and they're always going to be high clouds, but they're going to be really high, and they're going to be wispy or feather-like, and you can see through them most of the time. Cumulus clouds are going to be puffy clouds, cauliflower clouds, cotton ball. These are going to be vertically forming, which means that they are going to form when air goes up. And these a lot of times are going to show up in the afternoon or evenings after a great sunny day. That air has been going up and up and up, and as it goes up, it expands, it cools down, and they are going to create cumulus clouds. Some cumulus clouds will bring bad weather, and some are fair weather clouds, but cumulus means puffy. And then we have clouds by their altitude. If they're high clouds, they're cirro. If they're middle clouds, they're alto. If they're low clouds, they're stratus. And if they're vertically forming, they're cumulus. Now, if you realize we had cumulus before, so cumulus is a vertically forming and puffy. Cirro is a high cloud as a high wispy cloud, or just a high cloud. And we have categories of height that also correspond to their elevation. So cirro are going to be high. They're going to be wispy. They are going to be, for the most part, going to be ice because they are so high and it's so cold. If we have just a cirrus cloud, that is going to be just a thin wisp of a cloud. I'm sorry I don't have a picture of just a cirrus cloud, but we have a cirrostratus cloud on the bottom left, and cirro meaning high, stratus meaning covering a large area. And in the middle right, we have cirrocumulus, cirro meaning high, cumulus meaning puffy. And there's a note here that says this is the least common of cloud types. And that's because in order for a cumulus cloud to form, it has to be a vertically forming. That air at one point in time was down below, and it made it all the way up to that high for that to form. So cirro high, cirrostratus high flat, cirrocumulus high puffy. Our middle clouds are going to come with the alto prefix. And there's no just alto clouds. We have altostratus and we have altocumulus. Altostratus is going to be that mid-level covering a large area. We also have altocumulus, and I couldn't find a good picture of it, but this is from a satellite. And if you take a look at the altocumulus, there are these little pockets of clouds. So they're going to be puffy. They're not going to be connected like the stratus clouds. So we have altostratus. They're going to be flat, and you're not going to, you can see through them, but there's a definite bottom, and they definitely cover a large area. Where an altocumulus is going to be that mid-level, and there's going to be splotches of them. And splotches isn't a good word. Strato. When we take a look at stratus clouds, they are going to be low clouds. My note there is they're not always necessarily dark. These happen to be dark. On the left-hand side, we have what I would call a stratus cloud, where it's just low and covers a large area. Another type of stratus cloud is fog, and I can't remember if I have a slide on that. On the right-hand side, we have stratocumulus, and this is a cloud that's going to be low, and that air is going up, and it's puffy and cottony, cauliflowery, and it's low. So stratocumulus, strato meaning low, cumulus meaning puffy. Nimbo. Anytime you have the prefix nimbo, that tells us we're going to have rain. And on the left-hand side, we have nimbostratus. And this nimbostratus, most of the time, it's going to be considered a mid-level cloud. But with nimbostratus, we usually don't distinguish between middle or low on a nimbostratus. This is going to be a warm air mass or a warm front rain, long, prolonged. On the right-hand side is a cumulonimbus. Cumulo meaning that it is vertically forming. It is going up, and nimbus meaning that it's going to be rain. This is going to be your thunder cloud. This is thunder, lightning, tornado. This is a cold front coming through. Fog. Fog is a stratus cloud at ground level. And it can be, in our book, we talk about many different ways that it can form. We can have cold air going over warm water, or we can have warm air going over cold water. There's different ways, but I'm not going to be picky on that. I just want you to understand fog as being a low-level stratus cloud that touches the ground. Orographic lifting. I love these clouds. So orographic lifting is air being moved by or moved up because of a mountain or some feature. And when we take a look at orographic lifting, for us on the western side of a mountain, as that air gets pushed up the mountain, as it goes up, the temperature goes down, the relative humidity goes up, and we have rain or snow or whatever it may be. And then we have on the other side, as that air comes down, it's going to, as it comes down, it's going to be compressed and the temperature goes up and the relative humidity goes down, and there's going to be no rain on that side. I just love these, the orographic clouds that you'll see, different pictures of them. To me, they kind of remind me of a kind of a spaceship or something that would be freaky if you saw them at some point in your life. Contrails. Condensation nuclei is being given off by the gas from a turbine engine. And what happens as that air goes into the turbine engine, it gets compressed hugely. And as it gets compressed, the temperature goes up. They add in the fuel mixture, it bursts. And as it goes out, the air expands. And we are left with condensation nuclei. This is a big conspiracy theory, if you're into conspiracy theories, that the government is putting stuff in the air in order for, I don't know. But if you want a conspiracy theory, you can take a look at it. Contrails happen because of the huge change in temperature. A byproduct of combustion is water, and also a byproduct is smoke. So it has a cooling of temperature. It has a condensation nuclei. It has everything it needs to form a cloud, and a contrail is a cloud. And these are pictures of the air with all of the contrails in them. Now, we're not going to see this many contrails over Fairmont, Minnesota, but I like, if you take a look at like California and Florida, I mean, there is a lot of contrails there. And this does reflect sunlight back up into the atmosphere, which should be lowering our global temperature, but it's not seeming to work enough to offset our global temperatures are still coming up even with all of these contrails. And cloud seeding. Cloud seeding happens more than we know, and it is a type of weather modification. And what happens is, in places like Texas or some places where there might be a drought, you may pay someone to go up in a plane and release larger condensation nuclei into the air with that idea that a little bit of condensation will happen to it, and that moisture will then drop down on your land as compared to someone else's land. They did it for the Olympics. It appears to be successful, but it's really kind of hard to tell for sure. And coalescence. When we take a look at a drop of water, what we see is, when we look up at a cloud, those are really, really, really small droplets. And those droplets are being held up by air that's going up. But over time, as they bump into each other and grow, that process is called coalescence. So as it comes in contact with other little drops of water, they combine and become bigger drops of water, and they can then fall towards the earth. So that is my clouds.